Welcome to the Action Network March Madness Spectacular. Woohoo! We made it to the Final Four edition of the show. Remarkable. We have gone through nearly an entire college basketball season, nearly an entire college basketball tournament. We have gotten our fill of upsets, of bracket busters, of bad beats, of big wins. We are making it to the final weekend, and it is, no exaggeration, one of the most exciting windows in sports open right now because we have two marquee matchups. We got Houston and Baylor. We got Gonzaga and UCLA. I got Stuckey. I got Colin Wilson. I got Darren Ravel on the news desk. Everything we are talking about, all the picks, all the research, all the analysis, available for free in the award-winning Action Network app. Colin, Stuck, how you feeling right now? We are getting through the end of a college basketball season. How do two guys who go from college football to college basketball relax when we get down to these final two games?
For me, I feel like I'm about to get this little 4-month break where we just do baseball daily. We enjoy the results. I mean, this COVID window that we've had with college football and college basketball has been more scrambling than I've ever been used to in 20 years of doing college handicapping. Just players out, coaches out, teams out, opt-outs, transfer portals being abundant. It's going to be nice to get a little vacation time here in the summer and hopefully return to a world without COVID-19 because it's played such a huge part of both sport calendars for football and basketball.
Stuck, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just cherishing every game because we didn't have the tournament last year. So just as a fan, but I'm genuinely just exhausted from the COVID stuff, and so it'll be nice to just relax after. But up until Monday night, I'm going to be sweating every player prop, every bet, and just enjoying the action and Twitter and all the interaction and the excitement around it because we didn't get this last year. So cherish every second, and then hopefully we'll have a more normal season to handicap next season. But yeah, I'm just enjoying it, and I'm glad we got the whole season in.
Did you guys, one last question before we get to it, did you guys see your rankings change for college basketball because of COVID, or was it more you just had to manage schedule changes?
Crazy enough, defensively is where it hit both football and basketball. Like teams that returned from COVID breaks. We're going to talk about Baylor with this. So, they missed most of the month of February. Same thing with Boise State football, who was playing offensive linemen and defensive linemen on both sides of the ball. When teams returned from COVID, the defense is what fell off. The totals went up, and the defense just completely fell off the table.
Yeah, it was just a lot more manual work and guesswork in a way. Like, number one, spending so much of my week and weekends like searching names and teams and going to message boards trying to find out, is anyone going to be out? How long are they going to be out? And then coming to the realization that when teams are dealing with COVID, they're all kind of one-off cases, right? Like sometimes it's, especially in basketball, the team wasn't practicing. Sometimes it was just, okay, it was a team manager and they were still practicing. So the after effects, once a team resumed action, were all different for different teams. So trying to just figure that out. Baylor is a perfect example of that. Are they fully back? And look, this time of year, you don't really find a ton of line value, but I think with Baylor, you may, because there's a lot of differing opinions out there. Some may say, all right, Baylor's 100% fully back. This is a team that I had power rated right up there with Gonzaga before COVID hit them. Some might say, look, I don't know. They're not fully back yet. So trying to manage that. We have no prior data, and we may never have to deal with this again. So that's the uniqueness of the season.
All right, let's get to the news desk first. Darren Ravel, what do you got?
Well, the most lopsided handle on anything that we've seen is the Baylor Bears as a 5-point favorite over the Houston Cougars. 85% at PointsBet is of the money is on the Baylor Bears at -5. Again, that is the most lopsided of any side or total that we've seen today.
All right. Thank you very much, Darren Ravel. First game up, we got Baylor. We got Houston. The Battle of Texas. Everyone's west of the Mississippi in this Final Four. These two teams have been great all year long. We talked about Baylor having the COVID break, needing to come back and get back into shape. They are the favorites in this game. Stuck. What's your take here?
Yeah, that's the question. Is Baylor fully back? And to me, they are. From what I've seen from some of the trending metrics, they've won every tournament game by 9+. Houston's not going to be an easy out, and they're going to fight. They actually were the first NCAA tournament team to get to the Final Four by beating nothing but double-digit seeds. And it wasn't that easy. Look, they had to have a late run against Rutgers. Oregon State tied it late in that second half. But this is a Kelvin Sampson team that's excellent on the glass. That's kind of their MO, rebounding and defense. And their offense is uber efficient, even though it looks at times very stagnant, ISO-based. But when they miss shots, there are more times than not going to get the offensive rebound. So they're getting a second, a third opportunity on some possessions. They also don't turn the ball over much. So there are some things to like about Houston here. Look, they foul up. Baylor doesn't draw a lot of fouls. Houston lives with offensive rebounds. Baylor will give up offensive rebounds because their defense is so aggressive. It's not a true, we have two bigs that sit in the post. They trap. It's a very aggressive defense. And Houston themselves, like I said, doesn't turn the ball over. That's something that Baylor thrives on. So there's some things that you look at Houston and you say, all right, they're intriguing here. You know they're just going to fight and battle this out. But ultimately, I think Baylor just has one too many scores. Like, I think Houston would just need one more shooter in this game to actually pull it out. So I make the line around a little over 5. I think Baylor is going to win. Look, these are two teams that are pretty similar. They're not going to let you get into the paint. They're going to force a ton of jump shots. And I just trust Baylor's jump shooting a lot more. I know Houston's great at defending the three, but you pick your poison with Baylor. They have 5 guys who are over 39.5% from three. I think that is ultimately the difference. I'll personally be hunting might throw Baylor in a money line parlay because I don't show a huge edge with a line. I'll be also hunting for them live, anything under 3, maybe a second half look if they're trailing. I just think that they have too many scores, and Houston will just go through one too many droughts on offense, and Baylor will just make shots. I think it's one of those games where it's going to be, which team do you trust to make more shots? And for me, it's Baylor.
Yeah, this Baylor team, during the tournament especially, you've seen everything that everyone was so excited about when the year began, the way they can dribble and drive, their interior passing, their shooting. They have just been flying around the court, playing with such athleticism, but also so much in control that they really just dominated in every single game they've been in.
Yeah,
Mr. Colin Wilson.
9+. And yeah, I was just going to say 9+. And don't forget about Mitchell, one of the best on-ball defenders in the country. Him going against Grimes, that could spell trouble for the Houston offense.
Well, Colin, look, you got to see this up close and personal, not just as a bettor, but as a very interested party when Baylor played Arkansas. Did that change your opinion of Baylor in any way? What is your take going into this game against Houston?
I feel like Stuckey, for the first 90 seconds he was talking, made the case for me about why I need to keep my Houston 80-1 in my pocket and not hedge it against Baylor. Because he's trusting something that he saw with Baylor the entire season, and he expects it to come back. And so for me, it's, there's a ton of questions here about whether the defensive efficiency for Baylor from pre-COVID is back. Hartford, Nova, Wisconsin, they're great arguments that Baylor did have the defense back, but those numbers declined against Arkansas, where the Bears posted a worse defensive efficiency number than they had on their season average. And I think people don't realize that, that the defense may be back, and they proved it against lesser offenses, but they posted a worse number against Arkansas. Defensively, though, effective field goal percentage, forced turnovers, and opponent points per possession are still heavily on the downtrend for Baylor here. Houston is still inclining in plenty of trending metrics here. Offensive turnover rate, points per possession. I think Houston stays in this game. A lot of what Stuck says. Houston stays in this game by relying on their aggressive perimeter D, taking advantage of one-on-one plays on offensive side, and offensive rebound is a monster category that Houston's going to be able to take advantage of here. Whether that's tapbacks or more three-point shots, we don't know, because both of these teams shoot a lot of threes. Baylor is 112th in offensive pace. That's higher than their normal adjusted tempo when you consider their defense. So I think you're going to see them run more and try to get into transition and push Houston up and down the court, because they don't want Houston to get into their half-court set. So because of that, if you look at what Baylor did against Arkansas, they were their most efficient offensively when they pushed the Razorbacks up the court, 3-point shot, tip back out, 3-point shot, tip back out. I think that kind of frenetic pace of play is what's going to be needed against Houston. And for those reasons, and because Houston shoots the three ball a ton too, if you look at Houston's games where people push tempo on them, I'm talking, and don't laugh, Lady of the Lake, Lamar, Cincinnati, these are games where tempo was pushed on Houston, and they scored 89 to 112 points by themselves in those games. I know the competition isn't Baylor, but what I'm saying is you push Houston around, they score a lot of points too. I think Baylor's going to want to go to frenetic pace. I think that leans to the over. I love all the over. I don't care what the number is. I would play the over up to 140.
That is a high-end Emma Lovewell Peloton pace that we're talking about. If we're going 89 to 112, all Peloton fanatics, you know what I'm talking about. All right, let's get to Darren Ravel on the news desk for our market update.
Well, the Gonzaga total, any total with Gonzaga in it, has been a little bit tricky because Gonzaga scored so many points and people have not accounted for their defense. And so could still go under if Gonzaga scores 80, 85. Well, the total is 146.5 for this game, and 60% of the handle at PointsBet is still on the over. But I think the fact that it's at 60% says something that people have learned that it's possible that Gonzagans can score a lot of points. And there's such a big delta between their points and their opponent's points that 146.5 is a little bit more dangerous than a look at first glance.
Thank you, Darren. Guys, marquee matchup of the night. You got a blue blood, and it's not UCLA. It's Gonzaga, which is 30-0. It's not like Gonzaga in a COVID season played 20 games and there's going to be an asterisk against an undefeated season if they can win the next 2 games. They are massive favorites against UCLA, as they should be, because they have been so dominant in the tournament. And we did a story on Action Network in the Action Network app on actionnetwork.com about how the teams that win, and Stuck, you pointed out with Baylor winning 9+ points, the team that end up winning, they end up winning by large margins throughout the tournament. And that is what Gonzaga is doing. Stuck, give me your take on this game.
Yeah, I mean, when a team is dominating this much, there's a reason for it. Like Colin discounting Baylor by his Arkansas team was very odd. They won by 9. They beat all top 25 teams. But this is a powerhouse. It's a juggernaut. If they finish the job when they're favored to do so, they're going to go down as one of the greatest teams in college basketball history. They've won 27 straight games by double digits. That hasn't been done in 6 years. The one game they haven't won by double digits this year, by the way, was against West Virginia when Jalen Suggs got hurt in the first half. That's it. They've been up by double digits in the NCAA tournament in the second half in all but 32 seconds. This is an offensive juggernaut. You can't really stop them. We, including myself, thought USC might pose some problems with their elite interior 2-point defense. They were pretty good at stopping teams in transition. Nope, didn't matter. Corey Kispert couldn't hit a shot early on, and Gonzaga still almost put up 50 in the first half. You can't really slow down this offense. I think the only way you can beat them is you have to hope maybe they have a little off shooting night, but you have to keep up with them. You have to maybe win a game. We saw Iowa try it, West Virginia try it. You got to get into the 80s, maybe 90s, and I think that's the only way to beat them. I think Baylor has a shot if they're making all their shots. A team that shoots 41% from 3. But I'm not getting in front of this train until Baylor, and that's what I've told myself. I have not faded Gonzaga yet. This I'll be interested to see what Mick Cronin comes up with, and it's a big number, and there's some backdoor risk here. But I'm not getting in front of the train until at least Monday.
Colin, he just called you out. He called you out in a very not so subtle way. What do you think of what he said, and what do you think of this game?
Well, Stuck and I calling each other out is just the thing. It's what you get from a very long partnership when we disagree on games. One place I do agree with on Stucky is he wrote a great article. Him and Mike Randall wrote an article over on actionnetwork.com. Everybody should check it out, comparing this Gonzaga team to 2019 LSU football. And if you don't bet on football, or if you don't follow either one of us, nobody in the world could properly handicap 2019 LSU football. There was always attacks, right? People that do Excel sheets and stick their head in Excel sheets like me could never make a number that could keep up with what LSU was doing. And the same thing goes ahead for Gonzaga here. Ken Palm makes it 12, spread is 14 and a half, and may rise. And it's been going that way for Gonzaga the last 2 months. There's just a Gonzaga tax, and they're proving it in all the advanced metrics. You want to know how good these guys are? I mean, they were so far ahead in their last game in the Elite Eight. A kid that was in high school in December, Ben Gregg, third string post player, he was getting playing time. So to say that Gonzaga is toying with teams is an understatement. In this game, I don't know how, I don't want to swallow 14 points, but at the same time, I don't see how UCLA keeps up whatsoever. It's scary to take an under with a team like Gonzaga, but we're seeing a trend here going on with them where they get a huge cushy lead, anywhere from 11 to 20 points, and then the pace completely slows down. Two things that are trending for the Bulldogs: their pace of play is going down, and their forced turnovers are going down. Now that's key, because Mick Cronin's UCLA offense outside the top 300 in pace. If they're going to let Tiger Campbell just walk the ball up the court, and I'm serious, they walk the ball up the court, and Gonzaga's not going to force any turnovers, you're looking at a game that could be, a 20-point margin, and UCLA is literally not pushing tempo. They're just trying to get Johnny Juzang as many open shots as they can. Johnny Juzang is the only one that shoots the ball when there's 10 seconds left on the shot clock. Everybody else, Jaime Jaquez relies on a 2 seconds left on the clock and step back three. Cody Riley could be in some serious foul trouble here. I mean, if Evan Mobley can't take care of Drew Timme, I don't know what Cody Riley is going to do for UCLA. He'll be in foul trouble after 5 minutes. So this is a game I am cautiously taking the under. And this is one of those things where I think Gonzaga gets out to a 20-point lead with 10 minutes left in the first half, and then they go into cruise control with that cushion, and it's a slower pace of play. You want to get Gonzaga out in transition. That game potentially against Baylor could be crazy if it's in fifth gear the entire time. But in this game, Gonzaga will have a 20-point lead, and the pace of play will be down. And the fact that they're not forcing turnovers lately makes me want to take the under here. So I'm looking at taking the under, and then I will play live on the under after this huge burst of transition offense happens for Gonzaga.
All right, Stuckey, you got any other final thoughts on Gonzaga UCLA?
Yeah, I mean, look, UCLA has had some luck to get here. Teams can't make a free throw. No one can make a three against them, but you have to give them credit for them pulling out these games. Can their offense make enough shots? It's a team that relies on 2-point jumpers, but they make 2-point jumpers. Can they? And there's some weaknesses on the Gonzaga defense. It's an excellent defense, but Drew Timme's not the best defender in pick and roll, and you can get him in space, and Kispert has some weaknesses on the defensive end. Can they hit enough shots to stay close? And if they do, if they just make it interesting for 30 minutes, that's when, the under might be in trouble. This is what's happening with Gonzaga. Like as Colin said, they get big leads and then they can sit on it. Like they forced turnovers early against USC and they were going fast. They just built a huge lead, and then they sit on a 20-point lead the last 10 minutes. Can UCLA make enough runs, make enough shots to keep it within like 10 to 12 and just make it interesting for Gonzaga to keep their foot on the gas? I think that'll determine the total. I do think that there's some ways for UCLA to have some success on offense here. I'm going Cody Riley over 9.5 points as a prop here. I played it over 9.5. I played up to 10. He's gone over this number of 9.5, 8 of his past 12 games. And Drew Timme's vulnerable in the post from a defensive perspective. You do worry about Riley getting in foul trouble, but I think they have to keep him on the court as much as they can, even in minor foul trouble, because they need his scoring. So you hope that the refs swallow the whistles a little bit, but I also think Cronin's going to feed him to try and potentially get Timme into foul trouble. That's a way to potentially neutralize this Gonzaga team, is you get Timme in foul trouble early. So I think that they're going to go into Riley. He's been playing well in the post. I think he can have some success there. So Cody Riley over 9.5 points, and follow along in the action app to see if I get in on anything live.
Yes, indeed. Follow along in the free award-winning Action Network app to get everybody's picks. But just to round it up, Stuckey is going to look for Baylor -3 live. Colin, I think you said you like Houston, Baylor in the over. Plus, you've got an 80-1 ticket on Houston that you are not going to hedge. Stuckey likes Gonzaga as a favorite, but he's going to hold on tight. He also likes Cody Riley over 9.5 points up to 10. And then Colin is looking for the Gonzaga UCLA under, and he might hit the under while it's live as well. Dan Ravel, what do you got?
Well, we got 3 big bets for you, Chad. As we said before, 85% of the handle at PointsBet on Baylor as a 5-point favorite over Houston. Someone really likes that. At BetMGM, they took a $308,000 bet to net $280,000 on Baylor -5. Someone is still confident in Gonzaga even at 14 points, a $275,000 bet at BetMGM to net $250,000. And then the Gonzaga first half, don't know about that one. It seems like they start slow and then they just roll it on in the second half. That's been their powers. But someone likes Gonzaga -8 first half. It's a $115,000 bet to net $100,000.
Thank you, Darren. Thank you, Colin Wilson. Thank you, Stuckey. Thank you, everybody, for watching. This has been the Final Four episode of the March Madness Betting Spectacular from the Action Network. We will be back on Monday night to preview the finals. Good luck tonight.